Hey there, I am back. Hope y'all are having a fantastic day. Diego says hello. Okay, so the next thing that we're going to look at, we're going to start to look at the muscles of the lower leg. And so as I am sharing my screen with you here, I want to go back to home and we'll start to look at we'll start with the adductors, okay? And I'm just going to do a couple little videos here, and I'm going to get these nerves out of here so that we can start with a fresh screen. So to start with, we'll look at the adductor brevis, and we'll look at how that is connected here to the pelvis. And so it's right at the inferior, excuse me. It's right here at the inferior portion of the pubis. Okay, so the only reason I wanted to show you that is because I want to show you how deep this muscle is. I'm not going to talk a ton about each muscle individually, similar to I can't remember. So right now we are looking at the adductor longus, and we have the adductor brevis again, and then we have the pectineus. Now, these are the deepest adductors, and these are all responsible for hip flexion, inner rotation, as well as adduction. So I'm going to show you the adduction first. And let's see, there we go. You can see how the leg moving outward and then it adducts back into the midline of the body. This is the action of the inner thigh group along with inner rotation. So you've got medial rotation there, and then you have the pectineus in particular assists in hip flexion, okay? Now, those inner thighs are an important component for the core. So you want to have your body engaged to the midline when engaging the core well, unless otherwise you're specifically doing something different. But definitely in just a neutral position, those inner thighs, we want to pay attention to how we engage those. Now, along with the rest of the inner thighs, you're going to have the gracilis, which is right here, and the gracilis is responsible for hip adduction. We're looking at inner rotation right now, so it assists, and it's the innermost layer working on that inner rotation. And then again, we have adduction, and the gracilis is that long strappy-like muscle, and it is connected to your knee. So this is something important to note. If you have really tight inner thighs, you can see how this might be a problem. And then finally, you have knee flexion. So the gracilis assists in knee flexion. See how that works? All right. And then the adductor magnus, I will look, let's see if I can get that up here for y'all. The adductor magnus is an adductor, and it's also a hamstring, but I would like to show it to you because I do know that. Let's see if I can isolate it. So look at that. The adductor magnus, look at how big that muscle is. Okay, this is an important muscle in the body right here. This does lots of big things for us. This is responsible for hip flexion, right? So it assists in hip flexion. And I think, well, how could it assist in hip flexion when it's on the back of the body? But you can see that it's on the front portion there of the pubis. All right. And then we have adduction. So this muscle is kind of like a glute in a way, or kind of like a deltoid. It does a lot of different things. You can see adduction. It pulls your leg back into center. Look at that adductor group. That's a great shot of the adductor group. And then it's also responsible for hip extension. So one of the reasons I wanted to pull this one up is because this muscle flexes and extends the hip. Isn't that fun? So this muscle, a lot of times, is the muscle that feels so tight in lizard. Happy baby pose. This muscle's really tight on people. You can see how large that is. And so if you can imagine someone going into happy baby pose, a lot of times it's this muscle right here that's so incredibly tight. All right. So again, let's look at that adductor group one more time, y'all. Let's see. I think we saw it here. Here we go. This is a great shot of the adductors. All those muscles that bring your leg back in, and each muscle mostly is responsible for another action as well. Inner rotation, most of them, some of them hip flexion, but the adductor magnus, hip flexion and hip extension. All right, so there it is. There are your adductors, and I will see you on the next video where we will talk about the quads.